right, this chapter, dictatorships. Go down. All right, how many rulers are there in a dictatorship? Let me see. Let me look at the chat. Who knows in the chat without me even reading it? Take a guess. Yeah. Good job. It is one. Good job to all the people who said one. And let's see. It should be probably. There's not exactly too much strength. In a dictatorship, there would be one person or group of people that declare themselves rulers of the land. Good job, people. All right. Dictatorships are about being fair, peaceful, and free. Anybody want to take a guess on that? Just take a guess on if dictatorships are. Yeah, it was false. We're getting to the point where I've talked quite a bit about this already. Good job, people. All right. This dictator will have all the power. He's able to give and take anything from his or her people. In a dictatorship, the ruler usually lives in luxury and riches, while the rest of the people live in fear of the ruler's power. Dictators love to use the military to control people. You know, beating people up. It's great. Violence is usually a big part of dictatorship governments. So let's see. I'm going to read Vladimir Lenin. He is, if you ever hear people make like Soviet Russia jokes, communist Russia jokes, this is kind of the guy that started everything. So he this was after World War I. He was actually sent in by Germany to create a bunch of insanity over there and take over. Interestingly, this is what he says. Dictatorship is rule based directly upon force and unrestricted by any laws. The revolutionary dictatorship of the proletariat is rule won and maintained by the use of violence by the proletariat against the bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie is the middle class. You're going to learn this more when we talk about the French Revolution. Rule that is unrestricted by any law. So he's just kind of given the definition. He's not going to be as much of a dictator as his successor. His successor is going to be Joseph Stalin, and Stalin is 1,000,000,000,000,000% a dictator. All right. So video. According to the video, no man rules alone. Well, let's see. Oh, I'll take it.
Do you want to rule?
Do you see the problems?
Hang on.
And know how to?
Let's adjust my volume. And let's try that again.
Do you want to rule? Do you see the problems in your country and know how to fix them? If only you had the power to do so. Well, you've come to the right place. But before we begin this lesson in political power, ask yourself, why don't rulers see as clearly as you, instead acting in such selfish, self-destructive, short-sighted ways? Are they stupid, these most powerful people in the world, or is it something else? The throne looks omnipotent from afar, but it is not as it seems. Take the throne to act, and the throne acts upon you. Accept that, or turn back now, before we discuss the rules for rulers. No matter how bright the rays of any sun king, no man rules alone. A king can't build roads.
So we're going to pause on that, because there's our answer. And it is true. So, again, another thing, just remember the way that I'm doing this is the way that I want you to do it. I'm not jumping through this video. I'm watching it and waiting for the answer to come up. Oh, so let me do this in the chat. So number 1 was 1. Number 2 was false. Number 3 is true. And even if you get, it's cool if you guys guess in the chat, but if you're wanting to confirm an answer, wait until I type it. It might be right, it might not. Otherwise. All right. Our next question is, according to the video, there are hundreds of thousands of keys that you must sway in a dictatorship. All right, let's see what in the world they're talking about with keys. Keys.
Alone can't enforce laws, alone can't defend the nation or himself alone. The power of a king is not to act, but to get others to act on his behalf, using the treasure in his vaults. A king needs an army and someone to run it, treasure and someone to collect it, law and someone to enforce it. The individuals needed to make the necessary things happen are the king's keys to power. All the changes you wish to make are but thoughts in your head if the keys will not follow your commands. In a dictatorship where might makes right, the number of keys to power is small, perhaps only a dozen generals, bureaucrats, and regional leaders.
Alright, so I'm gonna pause there just right quick. So these are the keys to, like, success in a sense. So each person is a key to that success of the ruler.
Sway them to your side, and the power to rule is yours, but never forget to displease them, and they will replace you. Now all countries lie on a spectrum, from those where the ruler needs few key supporters to those where the ruler needs many. This foundation of power is why countries are different, yet many keys or few, the rules are the same.
So think about this in a almost money sense. Like, if you were to pay some people to do something you wanted them to do, and they didn't want to do it, but you kept on increasing the amount that you'd pay them to get the job done, and eventually they're at least more likely to say, yes, I will do it. So it's almost like, I would say these keys are almost like money. But it could be, oh, I'll give you this land. Oh, I'll give you this house. Oh, I'll give you this higher position. So that's why they wouldn't use money as the example. But it's like, I'll give you more and more. And some people don't need that much to be convinced, and some people need more to be convinced. So it really depends on the person that you're trying to get to be, like, under your command in a sense.
First, get the key supporters on your side. With them, you have the power to act. You have everything. Without them, you have nothing. Now, in order to keep those keys to power, you must, second, control the treasure. You must make sure your treasure is raised and distributed to you for all your hard work, and to the keys needed to keep your position. This is your true work as a ruler, figuring out how best to raise and distribute resources so as not to topple the house of cards upon which your throne sits. Now you, aspiring benevolent dictator, may want to help your citizens, but your control of the treasure is what attracts rivals, so you must keep those keys loyal. But there's only so much treasure in your vault, so much wealth your kingdom produces, so beware. Every bit of treasure spent on citizens is treasure not spent on loyalty. Thus, doing the right thing, spending the wealth of the nation on the citizens of the nation, hands a tool of power acquisition to your rivals. Treasure poured into roads and universities and hospitals is treasure a rival can promise to key supporters if only they switch sides. Benevolent dictators can spend their take on the citizens, but the keys must get their reward, for even if you have gathered the most loyal, angelic supporters, they have the same problem as you, just one level down. Being a key to power is a position of power. They too must watch out for rivals from below or above. Thus, the treasure they get must also be spent to maintain their position. The loyal and dim may stay by your side no matter what, but smart key supporters will always watch the balance of power, ready to change allegiance if you look to be the loser in a shifting web of alliances.
Let me pause. I want to make sure I didn't get past this, did I? According, there are hundreds of thousands of keys you must sway. The more... Okay, we haven't gotten to this one yet. I know this for a fact. Okay. Feel like this is taking a long time and I'm missing it.
Countries where the keys are few, the rewards are great, and when violence rules, the most ruthless are...
What?
Was number 4 true or false?
I am not there yet, I don't think.
Alright, never mind.
Yeah, that's what I was checking. I was like, did we get there yet?
And angels that build good works will lose to devils that don't. So buy all the loyalty you can, because loyalty in dictatorial organizations of all kinds is everything, for the ruler anyway. Thus, the dictatorship exposed, a king who needs his court to raise the treasure to keep the court loyal and keep raising the treasure. This is the self-sustaining core of power. All outside is secondary. Now, a king with many key supporters has real problems. Not just their expense, but also their competing needs and rivalries are difficult to balance. The more complicated the social and financial web between them all, the more able a rival is to sway a critical mass. The more key supporters a ruler has on average, the shorter their reign. Which brings us to...
Alright, hang on. So I know that that is this next one. Oh, where did it go? The more, according to the video, the more key supporters a ruler has, the shorter their reign. So that is true. I'm thinking... I want to think that this is true. I'm going to check, though. True. Do not. So I think this one is true, and then 5 is true. I'm just worried if it's hundreds of thousands. I'm gonna check right quick. Give me a second. That one was more difficult for me to hear, unless it hasn't come up, and it's going to come up really quickly, but I'm not going to put the wrong answer in here. So, couple more seconds. It is false. I was thinking there was too many. Hang on. So this one is false. I'm thinking it's that there was not hundreds of thousands, that it's a different number. That's what I'm thinking. So, change number 4 to false. There. Alright. So, I've got it in the chat if you need to see. Alright, so more key supporters, the shorter their reign. And you can see it in this picture here. So the more there are, the more likely they are to die. So you want to be careful how you balance your keys, I guess, if you want to be a dictator.
To the third rule for rulers, minimize key supporters. If a key in your court becomes unnecessary, his skills no longer required, you must kick him out. After a successful coup, the new dictator will purge some of those who helped him come to power while working with the underling of the previous dictator, which from the outside seems a terrible idea. Why abandon your fellow revolutionaries? Are the old dictator's supporters not a danger? But the keys necessary to gain power are not the same as those needed to keep it. Having someone on the payroll who was vital in the past but useless now is the same as spending money on the citizens. Treasure wasted on the irrelevant. And by definition, a dictator that pulls off a coup has promised greater treasure to those switching sides. The size of the vault has not changed, so the treasure must be split among Fewer. A dictator that sways the right keys, takes control of the treasure, cuts unnecessary spending, kills unnecessary keys, will have a long and successful career. Seeing the structure unveiled, you might be excited to get started and control a country to the benefit of you and your cronies, or you might be exhausted, wishing to do good but seeing the structural difficulties. Now turn to democracy for salvation. So let us discuss rulers as representatives. You again might have a grand dream of the utopia you wish to build, but no man rules alone, and never more so than in democracy. Presidents and prime ministers must negotiate with their senates and parliaments and vice versa, and they all have their own key supporters to manage. In a well-designed democracy, power is fractured among many and is taken not with force, but with words, meaning you must get thousands or millions of citizens to, if not like you on election day, at least like you better than the alternative. With so many voters and such fractured power, it's impossible to, as a dictator would, follow these rules and buy loyalty. Or is it? Of course not. Don't think of citizens as individuals with their individual desires, but instead as divided into blocks, the elderly or homeowners.
Alright. That's our next answer, number 6. According to the video, you should consider people as individuals and reward them as individuals. This is false. It said to do it by blocks. This kind of keeps you from being overwhelmed, in a sense.
Or business owners or the poor. Blocks you can reward as a group. Democracies have wildly complicated tax codes and laws, not as accident, but as a reward.
Let me pause that right quick. So, for example, if I were to get ice cream for the class, if I took individual orders, and I had everything from, we had strawberry, vanilla, chocolate, then we had fudge, then we had Napoleon, then we had whatever, all of that makes it more complicated for me, and in the end more expensive, because it is not like in a large bulk. Like, I could get a bunch of popsicles in bulk, and you pick the color, but they're all popsicles. So that's where this is coming from. And in a sense, at least you do have ice cream instead of, or, well, I wouldn't say ice cream. At least you have, a popsicle instead of having nothing, in a sense. That I'll give you ice cream? No. No. I can draw an ice cream and hold it up to the screen.
Alright. For the blocks that get and keep the ruling representatives in power. Farming subsidies, for example, have nothing to do with the food a nation needs, but entirely with how key the vote of the farming bloc is. Countries where farmers' votes don't swing elections don't have farming subsidies. If a bloc doesn't vote, such as younger citizens, then no need to divert rewards their way. Even if large number, they are irrelevant to gaining power, which is good news for you. One less block to sway and...
Example why public schools, why they can bring it up as being some kind of focus, but because students, younger students under 18, aren't voters, it doesn't matter as much to the politicians. Yeah, there are teachers, but just consider the amount of students to teacher ratio. If you had a vote right now, then all of a sudden public education would get way more attention than it does. And not just, oh, we gotta make schools better. Like, actually, things would happen.
The treasure you give your key blocks has to come from somewhere. If you want long years in office, Rule 3 is your friend in a democracy just as much as a dictatorship. You can't eliminate those who don't vote for you, but there is still much you can do. Once in power, make it easier for your key blocks to vote and harder for others. Establish voting systems that reduce the number of blocks you need to win, the more rivals you get. Very handy indeed. Draw election borders to predetermine the results for you or your cronies, and have party pre-elections with Byzantine rules to determine who blocks even can vote for. Mix and match the above for even better power
Let me
perpetuation.
pause. We got the answer to this last one already. So, according to the video, subsidies are given to the blocks that vote, and that's true. Subsidies are like extra money. And do not leave. We are not done. But we are going to stop there. We'll finish this some other time. So, hit submit. Your answer options are in the chat.